Last month, Ambassador Bridget Brink resigned from her post as America's top diplomat to Ukraine. She was the first American female ambassador in a war zone. For more, we're joined now by Ambassador Brink. Ambassador, good to have you here.
Hi, Margaret. Thanks so much for having me on.
You served this country for so many decades. What happened that made you say, I can't take it?
Well, maybe let me give you a little context. What I saw in Ukraine was horrifying. For 3 years, Russia launched missiles and drones at men, women, and children sleeping in their homes, tried to take down the energy grid for millions of Ukrainians, to take out the power, heat, and light in the middle of winter, and committed war crimes and atrocities at a level we haven't seen since World War II. I resigned from Ukraine and also from the Foreign Service because the policy since the beginning of the administration was to put pressure on the victim, Ukraine, rather than on the aggressor, Russia. I fully agree that the war needs to end, but I believe that peace at any price is not peace at all. It's appeasement. And as we know from history, appeasement only leads to more war.
And to be clear, you are a career diplomat. So that means you serve regardless of who is the president of the United States and what party they come from. And in fact, when you tried to leave post in January, Secretary Rubio asked you to stay on in Kyiv, as I understand it. You were there for a number of months until April. What specifically with this policy is a problem for you? Because you worked at post under the Trump administration. Was there a trigger that made you say, we're getting it so wrong?
Well, I would say it wasn't a hasty, rash decision. It was one that I took over the first 3 months of the administration. But the first sign was the Oval Office meeting.
In February. Between President Trump and President Zelensky.
Yes, where I saw that our approach is to put pressure on Ukraine and not pressure on Russia.
The president and this administration's policy, as you have heard Secretary Rubio say, is just to try to get the fighting to stop. Do you see that America has leverage here?
Yes, of course we have leverage.
From Russia?
Yes, of course we do. I mean, we're the leader of the free world. I think, let's just be clear. Russia and Putin have invaded a sovereign, independent, democratic country in the heart of Europe with the help of North Korea, Iran, and China. This is fundamentally against U.S. interests. Europe, as our largest trading partner, is responsible for 16 million jobs on both continents. And having this war, or any festering unresolved war, on the margins of Europe is very bad for the United States. So what do we need to do as the United States? We need to put, together with partners and allies, pressure on Russia to end the war. And there are many ways to do this. We can put additional sanctions in the energy sector, in the banking sector. Russia's not as strong as some people say or some people think. The economy is hurting. They have 20% interest rates, 21% interest rates, 10% inflation. And so right now is the time to increase the pressure on Russia to bring Putin to the table, not decrease it.
And we know that President Trump and President Putin have plans to speak on Monday. When you were still in Kyiv, President Zelensky called out the U.S. Embassy for what he called a disappointingly weak reaction from America following a missile attack that killed small children. He said, you must not be afraid to call things by their names, and the U.S. is afraid to even say the word Russian when speaking about the missile that murdered children. Do you feel American officials are being censored from saying things frankly and honestly?
I mean, our job as diplomats is to reflect and represent the policy of the president and the administration. That's our job. That's what we do as professionals. And having worked for 5 different presidents, that requires reflecting that policy that's made constitutionally by the president. So to me, the real question is, how are we going to help to end this war in a way that's in the interest of the United States? And to do that, it can't be peace at any price. It has to be a peace that does things that advance our own interests. And those are really simple. It's how to keep Ukraine free, how to deter Russia, and how to send the right signal to China. And this is what we should be doing. And every step that we make in diplomacy, I think, should try to help achieve this goal.
And call things what they are.
It's important for us as a leader of the free world, again, to be clear and accurate. And also, I think it's an important moment in history. We've seen the devastation that happens when we appease aggressors, and we do not want to do that again. So my strong advice in terms of how to deal with Putin and Russia is not to give a single meeting or concession or legitimacy until Putin agrees to an unconditional ceasefire that's verifiable and moves forward toward a just and lasting peace. On that basis, I can see a conversation and diplomacy that can achieve our interests.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Brink, for sharing your insights with us.